Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth, the channel where everything is a bit rough around the edges. This is actually a requested video that someone asked me to do in one of the comments on my otter hiking videos. They suggested doing a video on frequently asked questions about the Otter Trail. There are actually quite a few questions that come up pretty often with the Otter Trail. So in this video, I'm going to be answering all of those. How many questions are there? I don't know. I don't have them in numerical order. A bunch of questions, most frequently asked questions that I could find. The first question is, are there ropes across the rivers? No, there are not ropes. You can take a rope with you and put it up across the river. That's what I did last year. It's not strictly necessary, and some people do not like taking a rope because they say that if you need to use a rope, the river is probably too dangerous anyway. But for certain of the rivers, like Kleinbos River, having that rope as a kind of handrail can really help when you are rock hopping across the river. The second question is there cell phone reception on the trail? Yes, there is, but there's not cell phone reception everywhere. So your cell phone's battery may die more quickly because it disconnects and reconnects from the cell network constantly, and it's constantly searching for reception. So generally at the high points along the trail, there is cell phone reception. And what we found is that at the overnight huts, there is also generally cell phone reception. You might just need to walk around the overnight area a little bit to find reception. Then the next question is, what are the overnight facilities like? And what I would recommend is to actually go and watch my other video, which is titled, What Are the Facilities on the Otter Trail Like? Is that what it's called? No, that's not what it's called. The title of the video is, What Facilities Does the Otter Trail Have? The main takeaway is that there's only cold water and there's no electricity, but there are places to make a fire and cook food over the fire if you want to. And there are also huts to stay in. You don't have to take a tent. There's huts with beds and mattresses. Then the next question is, do you need to be able to swim to do the Otter Trail? Technically, no, because you could take escape routes to avoid all of the river crossings. But from a safety perspective, I think you absolutely do need to be able to swim to do the Otter Trail. The next question that comes up pretty often is, what type of clothing, what type of shoes should you wear to do the Otter Trail? And again, I'm going to direct you to another one of my videos, which is titled, The Otter Trail, What Clothing Should You Wear in Winter? And although the title references winter specifically, you can definitely have a look at that video for any time of year. Just obviously take slightly less warm clothing in summer. But you should be aware that in the garden route, it's got very mild weather conditions, so it doesn't get crazy, crazy hot or crazy, crazy cold usually. Then the next question is there a restaurant or is there a shop in Nature's Valley where the trail ends, or at Storms River mouth where the trail starts? And the answer again is yes, there is a restaurant, one restaurant in Nature's Valley and one shop in Nature's Valley. And there is a small shop in Storms River Mouth Rest Camp and a restaurant in Storms River Mouth Rest Camp. But what I do suggest is that you carefully check the opening and closing times for those shops and restaurants if you are planning to use them. The shops, both at Storms River and at Nature's Valley, are very minimal. You will not be able to find like camping gear or very strange foods for different kind of food intolerances. If you are needing those sorts of things, I would recommend going to a much bigger shop in George at, for example, the Garden Route Mall, or in Plettenberg Bay, which is the closest larger city to Nature's Valley. This question comes up all the time, and not just for the Otter Trail. It comes up all the time for just about any trail that I have made a video on, and that is, what size backpack do I need to take for this trail? And honestly, this is kind of like a how long is a piece of string question. You can absolutely do the Otter Trail with like a 45-liter backpack if you are an ultralight hiker and you know what you're doing with packing things and you have fairly small gear and you've kind of whittled down your equipment to the minimum amount. But I would say for kind of like most casual people, going for something between a 55 litre to even a 75 litre is more reasonable. So perhaps somewhere in the middle, like 65 litres on average, would be enough for you to easily be able to pack any of your gear. Then the next question is, can you slack pack the Otter Trail? Now, I understand why this question comes up quite often, because in the past you were not able to slack pack the Otter Trail at all. It wasn't allowed. You had to carry your own gear. But now you can slack pack the Otter Trail, and it's not done via SAN Parks, South African National Parks, that actually administers the trail. They don't do the slack packing at all, but they do allow select private companies onto the trail in order to offer a slack packing service. The person that we have used last year was a guy called Vernon, and there are a couple of other people that also offer slack packing services, which means that they will take your overnight gear to the next hut for you, and you just have to hike with a day pack with your day food and emergency equipment with you. The next question that people often ask is, what do you need to pack for the Otter Trail? And again, I have a whole video on this, which is titled, What to Pack for the Otter Trail in Winter. And again, although I say that it is in winter, that video, most of the things shown in that video will be relevant year-round. This is possibly the question that I think comes up the most frequently with the Otter Trail, and that is, how fit do you need to be to do the Otter Trail? And this is, again, it's really difficult to put into words exactly how fit you need to be. Some people are going to find it really easy to do the Otter Trail just with their base level of fitness. Some people are going to find it really challenging. What I can say is that, in my opinion, you need to be fit to do the Otter Trail. There are a lot of uphills. There are a lot of stairs. There's a lot of terrain that's really uneven, sea rocks and a bit slippery, so you need to have good balance. Especially if you're going to be carrying your own gear, I think you really do need to be at a fairly fit level to do the Otter Trail. And then, of course, one of the questions that people often ask is, how do I book the Otter Trail? I have an entire video about 5 different ways that you can book the Otter Trail. I'll put it in the video description as well. And the title of that video is 5 Easy Ways to Book the Otter Trail in South Africa. The last question that I found came up quite a lot on the Facebook group was, what should you do if your Bloukrans low tide crossing time is really early in the morning? Bloukrans is the largest river on the Otter Trail, hiking trail, and you need to get there at low tide in order to be able to cross it safely, because it's obviously a very big river. If your low tide time is at like 7 a.m., I would recommend going and watching some of my Otter Trail videos, because last year we had that exact experience. Our low tide time was 7:30, something like that. And what we decided to do was we decided to start hiking at midnight from Oakhurst Hut, the overnight hut just before Bloukrans. And we hiked through the night so that we arrived at Bloukrans as the sun was coming up, and we were there about an hour before low tide. That is your one option, is to hike at night. But I will mention that the terrain in between Oakhurst Hut and Bloukrans is about 10 kilometers. And it is not easy terrain. There are really some difficult sections on the sea rocks. So don't hike at night if you are not confident about hiking in difficult terrain at night. The other thing that you could do is just wake up in the morning at a reasonable time, hike during the day, and then just commit to taking the escape route. There's nothing wrong with taking the escape route when it's too difficult to cross the rivers. The escape route is pretty challenging. To get up away from Bloukrans, you go towards the N2 highway, and then you have to call the SAN Parks rangers to come and pick you up, and they will drive you to the next access point where you will walk down to Andre Hut. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to see more from me, then you can click on my channel name to see videos that I've made in the past, or you can subscribe to my channel to see videos that I'm going to make in the future.